Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I have a fun card making video for you today. I'm using some stamps from Not Too Shabby's June box of the month, Mermaid and Friends, and I'm going to be using hair gel to create a watery effect, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways you can use this for your cards. Here you can see an up close look at how the hair gel moves. It's an interactive card because you can move it around and kind of squish it with your fingers. So it's super fun. Now let's take a look at the stamps I'll be using today. This is the Mermazing Stamp Set, and it has a beautiful mermaid in it, several sentiments, and great supporting images. This is the Hugs and Fishes stamp set. It has that adorable narwhal, 2 seahorses, and the jellyfish. Those are my favorite images in this set. I'm stamping out almost every single image, at least the ones you can color in, with Copic friendly black ink, and now it's time to start coloring. I have chosen a color scheme of purple, turquoise, and pink for my images today, and I'm going to color these up so all of them have that color scheme going on. So for the mermaid, she's getting a light purple tail with V20 and V22 markers. For her skin, I chose E33, and I'm only using that one color because her skin area is so small to color. Next, for her hair, I'm using turquoise with the B01, B02, and BG02 and BG05. I will go back later and add some more darker purple to her tail to finish that off, and I did give her some rosy cheeks. Here I'm using light pink, purple, and turquoise for this seashell. I wanted it to look as if the turquoise blends with the pink to get purple in the middle, and I'm going to repeat this look on several of the images. So I'm going to show you it here again on this I think it's an angelfish, a fanfish, I don't know, but it has a really pretty tail. So I didn't look it up, but I thought it was really pretty. So here I'm doing the turquoise at the base of the tail, and on the edge the pink, and I am using all 3 of my markers, my darkest, my mid-tone, and my light for this one because it's a bigger image. And then where the 2 colors would meet or overlap is where I'm bringing in my V22 marker. And then I will go back in with the other 2 colors to soften that blend. I also colored some of the images with an ombre or one solid color, like I'm doing here with this gorgeous jellyfish. I think this image is so pretty with are they tentacles hanging down? They're so wispy looking. It's just really pretty. So I had to make sure I used this image on my cards today. For the most adorable narwhal ever, I am coloring the bottom half purple. So I have my V15 and V12 markers, and then for my lightest, I will bring in my V20, and I'm just keeping that towards the bottom because I wanted to have another kind of blend into a second color, which will be pink. So that's the color that my narwhal will have on its head. So V21 is my lightest marker, V13 is my darkest. Oh no, I do have V14 as well that I added to the horn. So then I'm just going to work back and forth between these markers to blend them together. They're not, colors that blend really well, so you just have to do a few more back and forth with the 2 markers to get that softer edge. And then I added a little bit of pink in on the tail and the fins as well, and you can see how awesome that turned out. Now these they're seahorses. They are amazing. Their manes, or the fins on their head, just make them look like rock stars. They're so cool. So I'm doing one side turquoise, the other side pink, and having them meet up in the middle with that blend of purple again. And I just love this look. I did it there on the coral reef, on the other fish, and on the starfish as well. I just thought it's a really cool look. Now, another thing I like to do when coloring images that are underwater is to give them a lot of gel pen highlights, a lot of dots, because it kind of looks like bubbles and reminds me of how they would look underwater. So I love this piece of coral too. I love how that turned out. So they're there are all colored out, and there are the markers that I used to color them, and there you can see all the dots I used on these images. I used my Pick Scan Matte and my Cameo Silhouette to cut out all of these images. I'm going to set those aside and work on the backgrounds for my cards today. I have this polka dot wall stencil that I'm going to use along with Coral Berry ink and Turquoise ink. Now I'm using a very small makeup blending style brush to add the pink to the bottom half of these circles, and then I'm going to use the turquoise on the top half, and hopefully they're going to blend together a little bit and give me sort of a purple look. Now the paper I'm using is a very, very light blue color. It's from Spellbinders. I'll link it for you below. It's one of their newer colors, and their new cardstock is so thick and crisp. It's amazing cardstock. So I'll make sure and link that so you can check it out. Next, I'm doing all of the blending 2 times so I can really intensify the color. I just felt like it needed it a little bit to help blend it out. And then you'll see how amazing this turned out. I love the look of it, and I think that it has a bit of an ethereal feel to it, which is perfect for these underwater scenes. So to accent these circles, I am using the Starlight gel pen from, it's a Sakura, I believe, gel pen, and you can't really see it here, but I'll hold it up in the light and you can see the shimmer that this adds. And so when you turn the card in the light, you're going to see that show up, and I think it's really cool. For the second background, because I am making 3 cards today, I'm going to use the same exact technique I did on the first card, pink on the bottom, turquoise on the top, but using the heart wall stencil, and I'm even doing the same highlights on there with my Starlight pen. Isn't that cool? Love it. Okay, for background number 3, I have a 5" by 5" panel. I'm going to put some spots or random areas of that coral berry ink, and then once I have those all done, I'm going to come back in with the turquoise and blend in and around there. So some of it will overlap and blend, and then there will be areas of the turquoise showing through. So I love these 2 colors together. I think they turned out great on top of this light blue cardstock. You could also, you know, do white, but I thought let's do something a little different and bring in a bit more color with this light blue cardstock. So there you have my 3rd background. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, I love it. That is the, I think it's called the Splashes stencil. And then to add some shimmer to this one, I'm bringing out my Sparkle Silk. I use this stuff all the time, but I didn't want to use the Starlight pen on this one. I thought the splatter would be perfect for it because it kind of looks like splashes of water, so there would be droplets, right? Okay, I need a window on each of my cards. I'm going to use a different die on each of the 3 panels. For the first one, I have a circle die, so pretty easy and easily replicatable. And then I'm going to take the 2 circle dies, die cut them at once from this turquoise cardstock to create a frame that will go around that window. I'll just glue that right in place, and I love the added dimension that a frame around a window gives. So we're going to set that aside, and we're going to bring in some cellophane bags. These are the kind of bags I like to use for creating the gel behind my windows. Not ones with the seam like this one, but clear envelopes also work really good. You don't want like a Ziploc baggie that might not be as translucent or a little bit cloudy. And then I have some clear hair gel. You can get this anywhere at the drugstore, at the dollar store. You only need a little bit. So I'm going to open up my bag, insert my bottle of gel, and squeeze in about a tablespoon. I like to start with a little bit and then see if it's enough. If it's not, I can always add more. You don't want too much of this. It will make your card bumpy. So I decided I did need a little bit more, so I'm going to open that up, squeeze in about another tablespoon. It also depends on how big the opening of your card is. So I'm going to squish that around. I'm going to try to get out any of the larger air bubbles and make sure I don't have any hair gel on the outside. Then I'm going to fold the bag down a couple times and use just some regular tape. I like clear is best. Mine's a little bit cloudy, but it's what I had on hand. And then I'm taping down all the seams so that no hair gel can escape. So speaking of hair gel in a card, I do not recommend this card be one that you would send in the mail. Something could happen to puncture it, and the post office doesn't really like liquids being mailed without them being notified that there's liquid in it. So it's one of those cards that's better if you hand deliver. I'm using double stick tape to stick the bag down to my card front, and then I can use the double stick tape again to stick this down to a background. So whatever's going to show up in the window, you would stick here. So I'm just getting that double stick tape ready to go. Isn't that cool? Okay, I have a piece of window sheet that I am pouncing down my turquoise ink pad onto, spritzing it with water, and then doing a little ink smooshing to create a background that I feel looks very much like water. And then I'm adding my 2 seahorses to this background, just gluing them in place so they're kind of nose to nose. I thought it was a really sweet look, and there they are, so cute. Okay, so now this is going to go behind that circle, and I realized I wanted it down a little bit lower, so I just trimmed off that panel. And then because it had to go down a little bit lower, I added some more double stick tape to that panel, and then I can just stick the 2 together and it works beautifully. But the bottom of my card, because I had to trim down my panel, was not as high as the rest of it that had the bag on it. So I just brought in some scraps of cardstock and glued them together. 3 pieces was plenty, and then when I stick this down, it's a more even surface. So I'll glue that in place onto my A2 size note card, which is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And I used some heavyweight cardstock for my bases because the front is quite heavy with that cellophane bag of gel on it. Next, I stamped hugs and fishes, and I'm going to die cut that out with a banner die, and that will be a nice sentiment for the front of this card. I'm going to have it layered over the window, so I did use double stick tape and glue, which was good because I put it on crooked the first time, and I was able to move it around because I had the glue on there, and use my T-square ruler to get it nice and straight. Now I have a bunch of supporting images, but I'm going to add those on at the end when I have the other 3 cards done so I can figure out where I want everything to go. Next, I have this die set that die cuts out a pool. It's really cool. So I die cut the first piece from my background panel. I'm setting the excess piece aside. I'm going to have a bunch of extras from this video that I'm going to challenge myself to create other cards with. Then I put the other 2 dies together, or the same die and the outline piece together, die cut them at once for the frame, and I used pink that time. So I'm going to set that aside and create my background. I'm doing ink smooshing for all of the backgrounds. When I make multiple cards, I like to repeat elements on all the cards. It just makes them seem like a cohesive card set, and it's quicker and easier because I don't have to think of another technique to use for this background. So now, before I do the gel, I'm going to figure out where I want my mermaid in the window, and now I have a mermaid in my pool. So for technique number 2, creating a hair gel interactive element, I am using a clear envelope, and then when I put in my hair gel, I'm going to add something to it. I'm adding some dye-based ink, like an ink refill for a stamp pad, and this is bubblegum pink, so it's a really light color. I did get a little more than I wanted. 2 drops came out when I was just trying to put 1 extra drop, so I had 3 drops in there. But it will mix with the gel, but it doesn't completely take over the gel. You have to mix it a lot in order for it to completely tint it, which I love because then the recipient can take this card and squish it around and move the color throughout the gel. It's really fun. You could even do 2 colors, and when they squish them around, it could blend the 2 colors together. But I recommend, if you're going to use yellow ink, that you would maybe change the mermaid out for a little kid. You know, that's a completely different card. There's a good humor card for you. All right, let's move on. So now I'm going to attach the cellophane bag to the back of the window, and then you can see the little ink there. Now, my story behind this card is that this mermaid has a special power, so to speak, kind of like a squid. She can squirt out ink to help hide herself if she ever feels that someone's going to discover her, because mermaids like to remain mysterious. So she's hiding behind that pink ink in the water. So now I have You Are Mermazing that I'm stamping with that coral berry ink. I'm just going to fussy cut this out. It's curved, which I thought would look really good at the top of the swimming pool opening there and frame it out really nicely. So I'll add that on with some glue, and then we'll set this aside and add the embellishment later with those other images and move on to card number 3. So there you can see that ink moving around. Isn't that cool? All right, so now I have this Seashell Shaped Card die set from HoneyBee Stamps. I'm going to create my opening in this card using this die. And then for the frame, I'm going to use the opening die. I'm going to die cut that first. And then there is a card die that creates a shaped card. I'm going to use that and just put the bottom of the die, or where the seam of the die is, on the bottom of my cardstock. That way I just cut out half of that card shape, and it created the perfect frame for my seashell opening. Isn't this so cool? I love this opening so much. All right, so time for the ink smooshing. Remember, this is my 5x5 card here so that I could fit that seashell on it. And there is the watery background. I'm going to add the narwhal to this card. So I did try doing ink smooshing with the turquoise and the pink, and it was just too busy with the front of the card already having multiple colors. So you could try that too. It would look really cool. Now for this one, I'm going to put in half of my hair gel into my clear envelope, and then about 1/8 of a teaspoon of super fine glitter. Glitter! It's so cool. You have to try this. Then I put in a little bit more hair gel, which is kind of the technique I would recommend for doing the ink. Like I did on the second one, doing half of the gel, then the drops, then a little bit more gel. Then you get the ink drops in the middle of your gel. All right, so I used, like I said, about 1/8 of a teaspoon of that glitter. If you had a smaller opening on your card, you might want to use a little bit less than that. A little bit goes a long way. So I'm just attaching my bag to my card, and then I'm folding this one over to the back to help hide the part that I rolled over so it wouldn't show in the window. So I'm just using a lot of tape to make sure everything's good and sealed, and then I can tape that flap down. Just like that. And then I'm using the double stick tape again to attach my card to my frame, but I also took my liquid glue and went around the frame of my card. I found on the swimming pool card that there was a little gap. Also on my swimming pool card, I left an air bubble in there that was kind of big, so the front of that card is a little bit bubbled. So just make sure you get out any big air bubbles, and don't put too much gel in your card. Otherwise the front of the card will be, you know, bumpy, lumpy, bubbly. So there I had a little bit of the double stick tape showing through on the window, and I was able to push it under that seashell and hide it. So that was really good because it's on a window sheet. It scoots over pretty good. And next I just glued that down to my card base. And for the sentiment on this card, I have one that says, "See you soon." So I'm going to fussy cut around that, and I'm going to stick this down to the window sheet. Now this I was a little worried about doing because I was afraid it might not stick over time, but I thought it was also a good test to know if it would. And the Bearly Art Glue held it down. It's been a day since I made these cards, and it is still stuck there. I cannot move it with my finger, so I was really happy about that. Next, I'm just laying down my extra stamped images where I think I'm going to want them. I like to do that, kind of plan it out before I glue everything down. And then I am attaching all of these images with glue. I thought there was enough dimension on there without adding the foam squares to the back of them. And then I had a couple left over I was able to add to the inside of the cards. So there's all 3 of my hair gel cards. I love the watery look that this gives the cards, and it's another fun interactive thing for someone to do when they get their card to kind of squish it around and feel that gel move. It's kind of different and unexpected. So there you have it. I hope that you've enjoyed today's video, and I would love for you to give this a try. If you're interested in any of the supplies I used, I will have them listed and linked for you below, and I will see you all again very soon with a new video. Happy stamping! Bye!